A woman returns to a gorilla she raised years ago. Their eyes lock, and suddenly, the unthinkable happens, leaving everyone breathless. But before we start, please subscribe to the channel. Your subscription means everything to us, and it's the only way for the stories of these beautiful animals, who often suffer in silence, to reach more people. It helps us keep our work going. Please subscribe now. We know that God will reward you twice for helping these animals have their voices heard. The bustling sounds of the jungle fade away as we focus on Sarah, standing nervously at the edge of a clearing. Her heart pounds, eyes scanning the dense foliage. This isn't just any day at the wildlife sanctuary. It's a reunion 15 years in the making. The air is thick with anticipation. Sweat beads on Sarah's forehead as she clutches a worn photo. It shows a much younger version of herself, cradling a baby gorilla. That tiny, vulnerable creature is now a 400-pound silverback named Coco. Sarah's mind races back to those sleepless nights, bottle-feeding the orphaned infant. The countless hours spent teaching him to climb, to forage. The day she had to say goodbye as Coco was released back into the wild. Now, after all this time, would he even remember her? A twig snaps. Sarah's breath catches. Slowly, a massive dark shape emerges from the shadows. Coco. His eyes, intelligent and curious, lock onto Sarah. Time seems to stand still. The sanctuary staff watch from a distance, tense and ready. They've seen reunions go wrong before. Wild animals are unpredictable, even ones with a shared history. Sarah takes a shaky step forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Coco, it's me." The gorilla's nostrils flare, taking in her scent. His brow furrows, as if trying to place a long-forgotten memory. Sarah's heart sinks. Maybe it was foolish to hope. Suddenly, Coco's eyes widen. A low rumble builds in his chest. The staff reach for their tranquilizer guns, fearing the worst. But Sarah stands her ground, trembling. What happens next leaves everyone frozen in disbelief. Coco takes a lumbering step forward, then another. His massive hand reaches out and gently touches Sarah's cheek. A soft whimper escapes the gorilla's throat, a sound no one has heard since he was a baby. Tears stream down Sarah's face as she whispers, "You remember." In that moment, years melt away. The bond formed over countless nights and shared meals resurfaces. Coco pulls Sarah into a gentle embrace, cradling her as she once cradled him. The sanctuary erupts in a mix of gasps, sobs, and nervous laughter. It's a reunion beyond anyone's wildest dreams. As the initial shock wears off, Sarah and Coco settle into a familiar rhythm. She shows him the old photo, and he studies it intently, grunting softly. The gorilla's fingers trace the image of his younger self, then touch Sarah's face again, as if connecting past and present. Over the next few hours, Sarah and Coco communicate in a language all their own. She uses the hand signals they developed years ago, and to everyone's amazement, Coco responds. He shows her his favorite fruits, the trees he likes to nest in. At one point, he even attempts to groom Sarah's hair, just as she used to do for him. The sanctuary staff watch in awe, furiously taking notes. This reunion is rewriting everything they thought they knew about animal memory and emotional bonds. One researcher whispers, "It's like they're picking up a conversation that was paused 15 years ago." As the day wears on, Sarah notices something in Coco's behavior. He keeps glancing back towards the dense jungle, then looking at her with what can only be described as concern. She furrows her brow, trying to decipher his message. Slowly, cautiously, Coco begins to lead Sarah deeper into the forest. The staff tense up, unsure whether to intervene, but Sarah waves them off, trusting her old friend completely. After a short trek, they reach a small clearing. There, nestled in a bed of leaves, lies a baby gorilla. Its cries are weak, and Sarah can see it's clearly unwell. Coco's eyes meet Sarah's, filled with a desperate plea. In that moment, she understands. He didn't just remember her, he remembered her as a caretaker, a healer. He's brought her here to save this infant just as she once saved him. Sarah's training kicks in. She examines the baby, realizing it's suffering from a treatable infection. With Coco watching attentively, she begins to administer first aid, using herbs and techniques she learned years ago. As night falls, the baby's fever breaks. Coco's relief is palpable. He sits beside Sarah, his massive arm gently draped around her shoulders as they watch over the recovering infant. In this quiet moment, surrounded by the sounds of the jungle, Sarah is struck by the profound nature of what's transpired. Coco didn't just remember her face or their shared past. He remembered the essence of who she was to him, a protector, a source of comfort and healing. And in his hour of need, he sought her out, trusting her with the most precious thing in his world. The next morning, as Sarah prepares to leave, Coco shows her something remarkable. He leads her to a tree where she finds claw marks, old, healed over, but still visible. With gentle gestures, he helps her understand. These are the marks he made year after year, keeping track of the time since she left. He's been waiting, hoping for this reunion all along. As Sarah hugs Coco one last time, she knows things will be different now. This isn't goodbye, it's the start of a new chapter. The sanctuary will establish regular visits, allowing her to check on Coco, the baby, and the rest of the troop. But more than that, this experience has shattered the boundaries between human and animal understanding. It's a testament to the depth and longevity of emotional bonds, transcending species and time. As Sarah walks away, Coco watches from the forest's edge. His eyes hold a wisdom and love that words could never fully capture. In this moment, the line between man and beast has blurred, revealing a shared capacity for memory, loyalty, and a love that endures against all odds. The story of Sarah and Coco doesn't end here. It's just the beginning of a journey that will challenge everything we thought we knew about animal intelligence and emotional capacity. Let's rewind to the day Sarah first met Coco. Picture a tiny, frightened gorilla infant clinging to life after poachers killed his mother. Sarah, then a young volunteer at the sanctuary, was the first to reach out. As she cradled the trembling baby, something clicked. A connection formed that would defy time, distance, and the very laws of nature as we understand them. Those early days were a blur of sleepless nights and constant care. Sarah became Coco's entire world, and he became hers. She taught him to eat, to play, to trust. But more than that, she taught him to communicate. Using a modified version of sign language, Sarah and Coco developed their own unique way of conversing. The sanctuary staff were amazed. Coco's vocabulary grew by leaps and bounds. He could express complex emotions, ask questions, even make jokes. It was as if a window had opened into the gorilla mind, revealing depths of intelligence and sensitivity that no one had imagined possible. But as Coco grew, so did the pressure to release him back into the wild. The goal of the sanctuary was always rehabilitation, not domestication. Sarah knew this day would come, but that didn't make it any easier. The day of Coco's release was heart-wrenching. As the transport cage was opened, Coco hesitated. He looked back at Sarah, his eyes filled with a mixture of excitement and fear. Sarah's voice cracked as she signed, "Go, be free." With one last look, Coco lumbered into the jungle, disappearing into his new life. For years, Sarah threw herself into her work at the sanctuary. She helped rehabilitate dozens of other animals, but none quite captured her heart like Coco. She'd scan the trees during her forest walks, always hoping for a glimpse of her old friend. But as the years passed, that hope faded until today. As Sarah stands in that clearing, face to face with the now massive silverback, 15 years of memories come flooding back. The air is electric with possibility. What will happen next? Will Coco remember? Or has time and the wild erased all traces of their bond? The tension builds as Coco approaches. Every muscle in Sarah's body screams to run, but she holds her ground. This is the moment of truth. And then, it happens. That gentle touch, that soft whimper. In an instant, the years melt away. Coco remembers, not just Sarah, but everything she taught him. As they begin to communicate using their old hand signals, the sanctuary staff watch in stunned silence. It's unprecedented, unbelievable. A gorilla, after 15 years in the wild, not only recognizing a human, but engaging in complex communication. But there's more to this reunion than just shared memories. As Coco leads Sarah deeper into the forest, a new chapter of their story unfolds. The sick baby gorilla represents more than just a cry for help. It's Coco demonstrating not only memory, but reasoning. He remembered Sarah as a healer and brought her to help when he needed it most. This act of trust and intelligence raises profound questions. How much do animals truly understand? How deep do their emotional bonds run? And what does this mean for our understanding of consciousness itself? As Sarah tends to the sick infant, with Coco hovering anxiously nearby, we're witnessing something extraordinary. It's a bridge between two worlds, the human and the animal, built on a foundation of memory, trust, and love. The implications of this reunion ripple far beyond this single clearing in the jungle. News of Coco's incredible memory and problem-solving skills spreads like wildfire through the scientific community. Researchers flock to the sanctuary, eager to study this phenomenon. But for Sarah, it's deeply personal. As she spends more time with Coco and his troop, she begins to see the forest through his eyes. She notices how he's adapted their old games for his gorilla family, how he uses modified versions of the signs she taught him to communicate with other gorillas. Coco hasn't just remembered their shared past, he's built upon it, creating a unique culture within his troop that blends wild instinct with learned behaviors. This blending of worlds raises ethical questions. How much should humans interfere with wild populations? Is Coco's troop still truly wild if they've been influenced by human language and concepts? The sanctuary grapples with finding a balance between research opportunities and the need to let nature take its course. As the days pass, Sarah's presence has an unexpected effect on the entire gorilla troop. Other gorillas, curious about this human who their leader treats with such trust, begin to approach. Slowly, cautiously, they allow Sarah to observe them up close. It's an unprecedented opportunity to study gorilla social dynamics in a way that's never been possible before. But it's not all smooth sailing. Some of the male gorillas, particularly the younger ones looking to establish dominance, view Sarah with suspicion. There are tense moments when her safety is in question. It's Coco who intervenes, using his status as the silverback to keep the peace. It's a stark reminder that, for all their shared history, Coco is still a wild animal with his own complex social structure to navigate. As Sarah's time at the sanctuary draws to a close, she's faced with a difficult decision. The bond she's reestablished with Coco is stronger than ever. Part of her wants to stay, to continue this extraordinary journey of discovery. But she knows that her presence, if prolonged, could disrupt the delicate balance of the troop. On her last night in the forest, Sarah sits with Coco under a canopy of stars. No words are needed between them. Coco's hand rests gently on her shoulder, a gesture of comfort and understanding. In that moment, Sarah realizes that their bond transcends the physical. Distance and time cannot erase what they've shared. As dawn breaks, it's time for Sarah to leave. This goodbye is different from the last. There's no sadness, no sense of loss. Instead, there's a profound feeling of connection. Sarah knows that Coco will continue to thrive in his world, just as she will in hers. But the bridge between those worlds will remain, a testament to the power of memory, empathy, and love. If this story has touched your heart, remember that there are countless animals out there waiting for their own chance at connection and understanding. Consider supporting wildlife conservation efforts, or even volunteering at your local animal sanctuary. As Sarah takes one last look at the jungle, Coco watching from the tree line, she's filled with a sense of wonder. This experience has redefined her understanding of intelligence, emotion, and the bonds that connect all living things. The story of Sarah and Coco is more than just a tale of an extraordinary reunion. It's a reminder that the capacity for love, memory, and understanding knows no species barrier. It challenges us to look at the animals around us with new eyes, to consider the depth of their emotional lives and the complexity of their thoughts. In a world that often feels divided, stories like this show us the profound connections that are possible when we open our hearts and minds. Whether it's a gorilla in the jungle or a pet in our homes, animals have the power to teach us, to heal us, and to make us better versions of ourselves. As we reflect on this remarkable journey, let's carry forward its lessons. Let's approach the world with the openness and trust that Sarah and Coco showed each other. Let's recognize the intelligence and emotional depth in all creatures, and let's work to protect and preserve the natural world, ensuring that stories like this can continue to unfold for generations to come. The next time you look into an animal's eyes, remember Coco. remember that behind those eyes might lie a world of thought, feeling, and memory as rich and complex as our own. And in that moment of connection, you might just find a piece of yourself reflected back. In the end, the story of Sarah and Coco is a story about all of us. It's about the bonds we forge, the memories we cherish, and the love that can endure against all odds. It's a reminder that in this vast, often chaotic world, connection is the most powerful force of all. As the sun sets on this chapter of their journey, we're left with a sense of possibility. What other wonders might be waiting to be discovered in the animal kingdom? What other bridges might be built between species? The story of Sarah and Coco isn't just an ending. It's an invitation to explore, to connect, and to love in ways we never thought possible. So the next time you hear the rustling of leaves or catch a glimpse of an animal in the wild, pause for a moment, listen, observe. You never know what incredible story might be unfolding right before your eyes. And who knows, maybe someday you'll have your own extraordinary tale to tell. A story of connection, of understanding, of a love that transcends all boundaries. Because in the end, that's what the story of Sarah and Coco teaches us, that the most powerful bonds are often found in the most unexpected places. If this story has moved you, share it with others. Help spread the message that every creature, no matter how different from us, has a rich inner life worthy of respect and protection. Together, we can create a world where stories like Sarah and Coco's are not the exception, but the beautiful, awe-inspiring rule. As we close this chapter, remember, every animal has a story. It's up to us to listen, to learn, and to love. In doing so, we might just discover new depths to our own humanity.